Hi everyone, it's Rena. So this video is if you have your sun in Pisces and your moon in Cancer. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Talk about sensitive, huh? Double water. So with the sun, we're talking about a mutable sign and the moon in a cardinal sign. So the moon is the ruler of Cancer in astrology. So you have that going on as well. So first of all, since the sun and moon are both personal points, they're definitely very influential in your overall makeup. So to be double water like this is huge. So I'm going to start by talking about the sun, and I will then, talk about the function of the moon and how these two harmonize, because that's a good point. Since they're both water signs, they form a trine. I mean, theoretically, because it has to be within certain degree span of one another. But just talking about the harmonious element being both in water, meaning that it's being on the same page. And so things can manifest so much easier, when you have the sun and moon both in the same element like this. It's like the sun can represent your outer ambitions, and the moon represents your need for security. And for instance, when somebody's going for a career and they are like overly concerned with security, they may choose a job that pays well or that has a lot of demand, but they're not really passionate about it. And after a while, they may feel really burned out because they may feel like they're doing something that they don't really like, and it's draining, and so that can create its own set of issues. So in this case, your goals, outer goals, your goals in the world, um, may be on the whole very harmonious with your need for security and your emotional needs, because that's another thing too. Sometimes when somebody is accomplishing goals, it can feel very jarring to their emotional nature. They might be working in some kind of a job that it upsets them. It's not really good for them emotionally, and yet there's something that compels them to do it. So this can just create harmony between the outer and inner needs. And so, speaking about Pisces, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, and it rules the 12th house, rules the dream state, the unconscious mind, the spiritual realms, fantasy, escapism, self undoing, which is self destructive behaviors like addictions. And it's the house of the victim. So Pisces sun signs, I often say that if somebody has their sun, moon, and or ascendant in Pisces, that I can almost guarantee that they have been a victim of abuse, or had some kind of trauma in their life. I mean, I think a lot of us have had one kind of trauma or another, but with Pisces, it can be extra. And I feel this is because Pisces is an old soul archetype, being the last sign, the last house of the zodiac. So it's like the house of unfinished business, including past lives. So, when people have in their chart, in their personal chart, when people have planets in the 12th house, that can be unfinished business from other lifetimes. And it takes on a Piscean kind of a flavor to it. So the sign of Pisces can be the sign of the martyr. And actually, when I talk about the moon in Cancer, there's like a sense of martyrdom with Cancer too. But to me, that's more aggressive, because it's like Cancer gets in your face about it. Like, almost demanding that they be loved. But when we're talking about Pisces as the sun sign, it's like the Christ complex sometimes, where the person feels like they are here to sacrifice in some way. And because it's in the sun position, the sun is our, our ego. But, I hesitate sometimes to use that word because people will say something like, well, I'm not a narcissist. I'm not an egotist. And I don't mean it like that. I mean it like your sense of individuality. Because yes, we are all part of humanity, but we also have an individual self. And that is something that is, basically how I would characterize it as is that we are part of we are all one, as a collective soul, but we're also individual souls. And so as individual souls, we have individual goals, and individual desires. And a Pisces sun sign can really like sacrifice their own individuality and own goals for the sake of someone else. And I think in this particular combination with the moon in Cancer, that could be even more the case because Cancer is a sign of the nurturer and it is the archetype of the mother. So if you are a woman, I guess a man could also express this. It like let's just say a parent who really has some kind of a major talent or they have a successful career, they become a parent and they drop everything to take care of their child. Maybe there's some special circumstance. I got recommended something on YouTube this past summer that was like these out of print albums or some kind of like some kind of artist that was no longer, that was kind of obscure. And they, so this one person, I was born in Chicago and this person was from Chicago. I've always lived in this area my whole life. And this person was a Chicago artist who I don't think ever hit the top 40, but at the end of his life, and he was in the R&B genre, at the end of his life, he got recognized by France, of all countries. I think they put his song in a movie and then he became popular in France or something, and then they asked him to perform over there. And I was, fascinated by this. He's really good. And I was reading about him, and he left the music business to take care of his daughter because he was a single parent. So this could definitely apply to men as well. And he wasn't a Pisces individual, but who knows? If you looked at his chart, you might find that his sun is in the 12th house. But anyway, that's what I'm talking about. And when I listen to his music, it's kind of sad to me because he was just so damn talented. And I know he could have been a commercial success. There's no question in my mind. But something happened, and I feel like the same thing could apply to somebody with this combination where it's like a twist of fate where maybe you're really talented, and it could be like a similar thing, since he was a singer, songwriter, musician, maybe you are the same. This is a very creative combination. So you might be somebody like that as well, and you drop everything to take care of your child or maybe to take care of somebody else's child. But that nurturing instinct will be front and center with the moon in Cancer. And I'll get to the moon in Cancer in a minute. I just want to explore Pisces a little bit more. Pisces is a very imaginative sign and also very psychic, arguably the most psychic sign of the zodiac. But water signs, and same, Cancer is very psychic too. Water signs are very psychic, but there can be a blind spot because of subjectivity. I've had many clients who have been water signs and, Pisces or whatever, maybe Cancer or whatever. And I'm looking at their charts and I'm like, wow, why are they even contacting me? They're so, you know, they could probably do a psychic reading for me. And I really feel that there can be a blind spot because, first of all, with sensitivity, personal sensitivity, and this is very sensitive, not just because of Pisces, because the moon in Cancer is extremely protective emotionally, self-protective emotionally. I'm going to just start talking about the moon in Cancer because it's very important in this particular combination. Cancer is ruled by the moon, but in astrology, the moon it represents fluctuation. So it can indicate that somebody is very changeable in how they react to life. And so emotionally, this kind of person can be quite changeable emotionally, and that can make them moody. And Pisces, for sure, can be moody too. I would kind of joke about Scorpio, which is also a water sign, and say that Scorpios tend to play their cards close to their vest, so they don't typically they're more likely to have a poker face and not let people know what they're really feeling inside. So, but that they could still be highly emotional, but keeping it hidden within. But the point I'm making is that being emotional is one thing, but if somebody has a lot of mood changes, that can impact them rather adversely, where they might have a tendency to feel as if they are controlled by their emotions. So I would definitely say for those people with this combination is to pay attention to that and see if you really do get kind of swept away by your emotions frequently. And if you feel that it's almost overwhelming sometimes, because you might even find that you are frequently triggered emotionally. And not just like, when I say triggered, some people think of like anger, but like maybe feeling sad. This is like the empath, like on steroids here, this combination. And so definitely pay attention to everything around you, like your surroundings, like be very impeccable about that and protect your energy, because the surroundings that you allow yourself to be in, the people that you associate with, even the movies that you're watching, the music that you're listening to, everything can have such an emotional impact on you more than the average person, because water absorbs things. And so you can be very impressionable, especially with Pisces being a mutable sign. That can lead to somebody who's highly adaptable, but almost like a chameleon. And that can help you, especially if you grow up in a chaotic way, that can help you to kind of survive better. But it can also open you up to kind of trying to morph yourself and be what other people want you to be. And ultimately, you could even lose your sense of self that way. This is a combination that really needs to learn how to construct boundaries, stick to them, and to be able to say no, thank you. Because especially Pisces can be very people pleasing, but Cancer can be as well. Trying to be accommodating, trying to make other people happy, but you don't want to do that at your own expense. Cancer is a sign, as the moon sign, can be long suffering, meaning that you can feel as if you give and give and give, and you don't get back in return what you give. This combination can be highly manipulative, and manipulation can come in the form of guilting people. Cancer is like kind of a virtuoso when it comes to being able to guilt people. Being able to convince people that you're helpless, and that's kind of Pisces' strength of presenting oneself as the damsel in distress, the little boy, the lost little boy, even if you're an adult. And while you might be successful in getting people to believe this doesn't help you ultimately because it's very disempowering. So, resist the urge to identify with victimhood. If you have been a victim in your past, that is a truth. That is not untrue, but it doesn't mean you have to identify with it. And if you find that it's hard to separate yourself there's a saying, who would you be without your story? And if your story or your past is something that is very hard for you to kind of divorce yourself from, because Cancer rules the fourth house, which is home and family, but also your childhood and the past. And so somebody with the moon in Cancer is going to be very emotionally connected to the past. On the plus side, this can make a person very sentimental, very nostalgic, and this can be really great for any kind of artistic endeavors that generate those types of feelings in other people. The problem is when the person is actually more like living in the past than they are with the present moment. The past is history, the future is a mystery, and the present is a gift. Isn't that special? And we have to, Eckhart Tolle always talks about present moment awareness. Well, that's what we have. That is all we have. And it's not about spiritual bypassing or psychological bypassing and pretending that a traumatic past didn't happen and, it's all an illusion. It's not about that per se, but simply to put it in its rightful place. There may be times when the person is unable to do that by themselves. And if you seek professional assistance in that, more power to you, and it can come in, a variety of forms, whether it's a traditional therapist or an energy healer, whatever. Being able to transcend painful memories, painful experiences, and being able to see yourself as more than whatever you experienced can be the difference between, having that past be something that you can integrate, meaning that you can weave it into your overall life, identity, whatnot, and not make it the sole focus of your life. That is the key. This combination, if we talk about professions, this combination is really great for anything that involves caretaking, be it with elderly or with children, maybe even like babies. And this can also involve healthcare, like if you're like a neonatal nurse, nurses in general, nurturing, nurture, that is certainly connected to that profession. And so the healthcare field in general, but childcare, staying home with your child, and making that your focus, like being like a, maybe even like a homeschooling parent, or see, I always think of Cancer as a teacher sign. The artist, the actress or actor, the writer. And in terms of relationships, this combination is very romantic. However, with the moon in Cancer, you have to, well, I mean, I would say that Pisces is a sign that will probably, and I'm not saying this is a good thing necessarily, but probably tolerate a lot of, um, in some cases, negative treatment or even neglect from a partner. Because again, that sense of self-sacrifice. The moon in Cancer, though, really is very actively seeking love. Cancer is a cardinal sign, so it's a very like kind of, there's like an aggressive or self-starting quality with all of the cardinal signs, and Cancer is no exception to that. So I feel like this combination is going to be less likely to tolerate bad behavior in the long run, because cardinal signs are people who are doers. And as somebody who's a mutable sign, as a Sagittarian like Pisces, the mutable signs tend to they like to talk about what they're going to do, but the cardinal signs do it. And that includes Cancer. So because this is in the moon position, you are proactive about your emotional well-being. And if you feel like you're not getting your needs met, there is every possibility in the world that you will not, stay in that situation. However, resist temptation to try to circumvent, a messy scene with someone that you feel is neglecting you. Don't, I could see a Pisces person going outside of a relationship, not because they are just disloyal, although I do think that Pisces as a sign has a fickle side to it because of the mutability factor. And, you may feel like you want to do things in an indirect manner rather than a direct one. And that just creates more complications and also is not fair to the other person. And so that's something to consider. Like if you feel like you are not being cherished in your relationship, then being able to be assertive about that and either asking for, talking about what your needs are, or simply, if you need to leave the relationship, being able to do so without having to kind of, go outside of the relationship to get your needs met and being deceptive about it, because Pisces is a sign, as Neptune being ruled by Neptune, um, sometimes deception can be associated with this sign. And a lot of times I do feel that it is out of kindness that such a person is doing that. It's not necessarily because the person is not trustworthy or anything like that. It's more of not wanting to hurt other people's feelings. And yet it will still create that, regardless. So it's better to be open and direct, in my opinion, than to do things surreptitiously. So yeah, this is a very psychic combination, and really honor yourself and what your spiritual needs are, so that you don't find yourself overwhelmed on a regular basis. And part of that is by being able to set strong boundaries and stand by them and not feel guilty. And part of that is just practice. Sometimes it seems like impossible to imagine being able to actually do that. And then when you keep doing it and you find out that the world isn't going to end, and that many people will not, reject you forever just because you told them that you can't be everything that they want you to be and do everything that they want you to do. Maybe in the past you have done that. What I have found is that when people say yes when they mean no, they will probably, pay that person back one way or the other with their moods, with their, just that passive aggression. So this can be a combination where being passive aggressive is a possibility, and you want to avoid that because it's not a direct form of communication. Everybody gets angry, and of course you have to look at your Mars sign to get more information, because that specifically can talk about the way that you express anger, and as a Pisces, you may very well have Mars and Aries, and oh boy, your moon and your Mars could be squaring off to one another. And, Mars being in its own sign of Aries, wow, that would be really something else. So, anyway, I feel like this combination can be very dreamy and gentle, and also sometimes very weepy, sometimes kind of like this hysteria, like kind of this, maybe you get into silly moods. There's like all these different moods that you can get into, but you may be like one of the greatest nurturers that anybody could have in their life. But do take care of your own needs as well. All right. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.